We can do that, but we can't have him standing up here talking for 27 million minutes, and we got lots of other people who also want to speak. So let's try and let him wrap up his. We do have a lot of cards already in order. I would like to try and be fair to the people who signed up earlier, but I will let him speak again, but we cannot have him basically use up the rest of our time, given that a lot of people came and signed up to make sure they could speak. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate the time, Steve, coming up here. And one of the things that, just hitting again on some things that Jim mentioned, I think are critically important for the lab to notice. Landowners are one thing. You can come down and determine that there are 1,000 landowners, and while you're doing that, you can't get the address. It seems that is something that would have been fairly easy to do at that time and would have been the best use of your time to do that. The second thing is that, and I think this is very important, there's going to be a tremendous impact on the local government entities within this area, both within the area of the conservation area and the taking area, and I'll speak to that a little bit further in a few moments. State agencies. The Alabama Forestry Commission, I know, was unaware of this until August the 4th. The Alabama Department of Conservation and National Resources learned of it at approximately the same time as the Forestry Commission. And ADEM, to my knowledge, I don't know if they have noticed yet, I know they don't have anyone here. Trade associations. The Alabama Forestry Association, the Alabama Forestry Owners Association could have been notified that they weren't, could have been notified just as easily as was the Kiowa River Society. And if you have a problem getting a newspaper to run an ad, pay for one. This is vitally important that affects, when you look at this project, in the year 2000, you authorized the acquisition of 3,600 acres, and you had to have an act of Congress to do it. When you expanded that in 2006, about another 3,600 acres, you had to have an act of Congress to do it. That act, by the way, on that 3,600 acres, is the only official action that I can find that says that you will not use eminent domain. It's the only one. Now, when you want to acquire an additional 106,000 acres and obtain control over another, what was it, 173,000? You're going to do that with an administrative action. And I don't know exactly how much time was spent preparing the environmental assessment. It's not a reflection on what it contains, but I've heard rumors it was as little as 30 days that was actually spent. 90 days notice to do it, 30 days spent on it. Again, I'm not certain of that, but that seems to be a very small amount of time. The vagueness in the document refers several times to returning conditions to pre-settlement conditions, talking about water quality, timber habitat, things of that nature, to pre-settlement conditions. What exactly is pre-settlement? And how is it measured? And how is it recorded, and how do you know when you've reached it? I think it's a completely unattainable goal. It certainly is an undefined goal. The status quo. What is the status quo in terms of the effect that it has on local governments, local property owners, people of that nature? Is that only the physical appearance of the real estate? Is that only the publicly owned treatment works that are in existence now? Or is the full range of property rights that go along with owning fee simple title? And while we're talking about that range of property rights, fee simple title, you can acquire hunting rights by eminent domain. And that's what the case in Mississippi was about. They were terminating a hunting lease. You can likewise terminate hunting rights or forestry rights, mineral rights. You can do all of that. You simply have to pay for it. And you are, when you get an easement, acquiring property rights. Otherwise, the federal government couldn't pay you for that conservation easement. They are acquiring property rights that will last forever. They will not change. And one question that I have is that if you are going to be using money that's appropriated through this environmental assessment to purchase those conservation easements? Are your conservation easements not going to have to, as a matter of law, aren't they going to have to meet the same goals that you have set forth in your environmental assessment? Reestablishment of longleaf pine, reestablishment of cane brakes, which I believe is an invasive species. I know that my in-laws have been trying to get rid of them for 120 some odd years. They've owned their property on the Ohio River. You know, industry. Now, let me first go to this. What is the effect going to be on government programs such as CRP within the area if land are purchased or if conservation easements are imposed? How would the conflict between a CRP plan, for instance, be reconciled against the requirements of a conservation easement? The conservation easement terms are not spelled out in environmental assessment, and I think that's one of the things that is very vague. It needs to be set forth. What are the minimum requirements of the government going to be in order to qualify for money to be spent? What is the effect going to be on government operations? Law enforcement. You're going to create, if you just by, assuming that you do go just by willing owners, you're going to create a checkerboard of conflicting jurisdictions. Where is the Forestry Service going to be the primary fire responder, for instance? Where is it going to be the Alabama Forestry Commission? Where is it going to be rural volunteer fire departments? Is that all 6 minutes? Okay, let me wrap it up just real quickly. Nothing publicly owned treatment works. That's one thing that I do want to say. There's no mention of the effect on publicly owned treatment works. I know for a fact, from having dealt with the city of Marion, that their publicly owned treatment work can only barely, the design of the system will only allow them to exactly meet the requirements of ADEM for discharge into Rice Creek, which is a tributary into the Ohio River. If this area is protected and if they are more stringently guided, who's going to pay for upgrading their system? You know, is that going to come from the Forestry Service, Fish and Wildlife Service? Is that going to come from the Department of Interior? Or is it going to come out of the pockets of the people down in Perry County? Same thing would apply here. I don't know what the minimum requirements are, but that's just one other issue. And I've got lots more, but that's all right.
Again, for us to get the full range of comments, we invite you to send us your written comments because we can compile all of the comments at that stage and make them available for everyone.